In that same interview I referenced earlier, the FCT minister likewise came down heavily on his former boss, if I might add, because he was a former Governor Rotimi Amaechi, now vice presidential nominee of the Atiku ticket. So it was Rotimi Amaechi that first nominated or picked Wike as his chief of staff, and then eventually forwarded his name or recommended him to be appointed by Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, then president, as Minister for State for Education. But yesterday, while addressing the media, Nyesom Wike dismissed offhandedly Rotimi Amaechi's value to the ticket, to the Atiku ticket, stating unequivocally that Rotimi Amaechi has not won any elections since he left the governorship in 2000 and I think 2015 or so, and that he has been defeating him serially, and that the only thing it believes Rotimi Amaechi is bringing to the Atiku campaign, perhaps, is finances. How do you respond to this?
When you peddle a lot of falsehoods over a while, it will appear as if there is any sense in it, when in actual sense, there is no sense in it. Atiku-Amaechi was recruited to be the DG of the campaign for Buhari to be president in 2015. He was not DG of campaign for Rivers State. His job was to deliver Buhari as president. The first time a DG of an opposition party was to wrestle with an incumbent government. And His Excellency, Right Honorable Atiku-Amaechi, delivered Buhari as president in his capacity as the DG. It has never happened. Give him some flowers. Atiku-Amaechi, when he went to vote in Rivers State, the political wrestlers had already hijacked all the results. He asked them, where are the result sheets? There was none. He said, I am not going to contribute to the perfidy that is going on in Rivers State. By then, he had calculated, making all the arrangements as DG, that even if Rivers State is not included in Buhari's victory, Buhari was still going to win. Because his job was to deliver Buhari. And he left Rivers State for the political wrestlers, and they went to the dirt and wrestled themselves. And he came back and still delivered Buhari to be president. He didn't want to destroy his state for an election he knew he has already won, even without Rivers State. Tinubu did not win Lagos. He became president. Please, I would prefer, I'm from Enugu State, if you give me the choice whether to win as president of Nigeria and lose Enugu State, or to win Enugu State and lose as president of Nigeria, I will tell you speedily, may I become the president of Nigeria without equivocation, without Enugu State. So please, Atiku-Amaechi, for 2 times he was the DG of Buhari and he won for Buhari 2 times. One was the historic feat that has never happened in Nigeria. Opposition party is defeating an incumbent. Give him some flowers. He's not a local champion. When Wike is talking about election, can't you see? He restricts himself in Rivers State, local champion. When he says, I defeated him, this defeated him. Please, let me ask. Atiku-Amaechi, did he contest for Rivers State governor election in 2015? Did he contest for Rivers State any political office in 2019? How did you defeat him? So, unfortunately, what he said was not the reflection of the facts. Chibike has been very successful all through. And as vice presidential candidate, he's going to deliver again for his boss, Atiku Abubakar, for ADC, and for the Nigerian people. He's the man that is most suitable for the job now. I can say it without equivocation. throughout the whole of South. There is nobody that has the kind of qualification now that Chibike Amaechi has. He was the Speaker of the House of Assembly, Rivers State, for 8 years. He was governor, in other words, operating as a legislator. He was the executive governor for 8 years, operating as an executive. He was a minister for 8 years. For 24 years, unbroken public service record. Operating at the state and at the national level. Operating both at the legislative and the executive levels. Nobody has this kind of experience. And because of the desecration of our democracy, because of the destruction of our economy, and because of the imminent collapse of the Nigerian system under Tinubu, we need men of institutional memory and experience to take over Nigeria now. And Chibike Amaechi is one of the people that has something to bring in terms of institutional experience and memory that will help us to navigate ourselves out of the incompetence and corruption of the APC government. Nobody in the South has such qualification. Atiku made a very good choice.
Okay, interrogating this Rotimi Amaechi and Nyesom Wike feud, let's interrogate it a bit more. In Wike's specific words, he says Rotimi Amaechi cannot deliver Rivers State for Atiku. Or for that matter, any of the South states. And he declared their ticket, that is the Atiku-Amaechi ticket, as dead on arrival. Those are his words. Now, let me give a bit of some context to that. In 2023 elections, VP Atiku selected Ifeanyi Okowa as his running mate. Ifeanyi Okowa, of course, then was sitting governor of Delta State. He lost Delta State. He could not deliver Delta State for Atiku Abubakar. So, are you not worried that Nyesom Wike is openly thumping his chest, boasting? Are you not afraid of this history repeating itself, Mr. Kenneth? Are you not afraid of history repeating itself?
I just told you about the history of Rotimi Amaechi. Good. Rotimi Amaechi is not Ifeanyi Okowa. So that comparison falls flat on its face. Rotimi Amaechi achieved a feat that nobody in Nigeria has ever achieved as Director General. Took a man that has lost the election on the presidential level 3 times and as DG set up a structure, campaigned, and ensured he won election. And I'm talking about Buhari as president. He did it not once, but twice. So please, I am here to say that Chibike Amaechi will do it again, because this is another time now that he is going to campaign for the opposition against an incumbent. And he has that aura of victory in defeating incumbents from the opposition. If he did it as DG, much more will he do something better as vice presidential candidate. Just watch us and watch where we're going.
Okay, final interrogation on this. In 2015, Rotimi Amaechi backed a certain Dakuku Peterside. He lost to Nyesom Wike. In the repeat in 2019, if I'm not mistaken, he also supported, I think it was Tony Cole, and they lost. Meanwhile, all this time he was a very powerful minister in the Buhari presidency. Even 2023 elections, his candidates in Rivers State lost. Are you very confident that Rotimi at least can deliver Rivers State in 2027, Mr. Kenneth?
I am talking about national election. Yeah. In 2015, Wike was a powerful minister in education. He supported an incumbent president, Goodluck Jonathan, and he lost. In 2019, he supported another candidate in the presidential primary in Rivers State, Port Harcourt, and he lost. I'm talking about national election. You're dragging me into state caucus election.
It is the state that make up the national election.
That's what I'm saying. That Atiku-Amaechi is a national figure, not a state jingoist. And he has delivered. I'm talking about Atiku Abubakar. And I'm saying Atiku-Amaechi has what it takes to deliver him as president. And you're still referring me to backyard state politics and trying to compare him with local champions. He's chief of staff. He said he doesn't like communicating with his subordinates. So let it be. Ask me things on the national level because I am here as a spokesperson for a national politician.
You're not worried that Larry Olayinka will come after you. Not a state
politician come after all this.
Larry Olayinka,
all these peripheral,
the media advisor to FCT minister.
All these peripheral state level spokespersons.
That guy is very brutal.
Hold on. You know, you are the one instigating problem. All these peripheral state level spokespersons. I mean, let them concentrate on the state headquarters, either FCT headquarters or Port Harcourt. We're talking about federal election.
Okay, let's move away from that. INEC, the Independent National Electoral Commission, has since published the list of all the candidates, their vice presidential candidates, and their particulars, their details, academic, professionals, and all of those. I mean, a cursory look by anyone, you know, and it's been all over social media, even conventional media. The incumbent president seems to have, I mean, I don't know how to put it. He didn't attend primary nor secondary school, but then we saw a degree from Chicago State University, and this has generated quite a ruckus on everywhere. People are debating or discussing on this. What does this mean for democracy?
What it means is that everything about democracy under Tinubu's government and rule of law have been desecrated. First of all, Nigerian law, because we're not practicing American law. And if you remember the case of Atiku versus INEC in the presidential election, the Supreme Court made it clear that the rules that apply in other jurisdictions do not necessarily apply within the Nigerian jurisdiction. And the reason is because there are different jurisdictions. The rule in Nigeria is that you cannot get into the university without having 5 credits in your O-level. That is the rule. So if you don't have any secondary school certificate, you cannot come and present a university certificate because you can't put something on nothing and expect it to stand. And the Constitution is very clear that it is school cert or its equivalent. And we're talking about Nigeria. We're not talking about United States. Now, I was a member of the presidential legal team within that era. And I can tell you that Atiku Abubakar, they went to America and they got a deposition where they said that the certificate that Tinubu is holding did not emanate from them. I could remember the Tinubu people, they were spinning it then that third parties could write certificates, that the university grants third parties to write certificates. The university said that certificate, as a matter of fact, in their deposition, which I saw, they dubbed it, as when they were confusing Chicago State University and that certificate, they said, okay, let them refer to that certificate as INEC certificate. Not their certificate, so that they could make a difference. In the deposition that I read, the reason that was not considered was that the Supreme Court said that it lacked jurisdiction to entertain it, because the 180 days that the laws provided for a petition to last at the trial court has expired. And what the trial court does not have, when the trial court does not have jurisdiction to entertain a matter, the appellate court cannot have jurisdiction to entertain it. That was why the Supreme Court, because they brought this issue of forged certificate letter to the Supreme Court and wanted the Supreme Court to entertain it. And the Supreme Court said no. The 180 days had expired, and the rules for admission of such evidence in Nigeria is not the same with that of United States. So sorry, according to the deposition by the Chicago State University, that certificate did not emanate from it, and one can say it is forged by our law, since the institution that purportedly issued it has disowned and denied it. And since he does not have primary school certificate, secondary school certificate, by his own deposition, he couldn't have had university certificate. So in my own opinion now, he did not present any certificate, and as such, he's not qualified to contest as president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Okay. What would you say as response to the Constitution of Nigeria? You are a lawyer. I'm a layman, but at least I'm also educated. You guys think you're also learned, you know? We are educated also, and we're learned too.
Yeah, no, sorry. I concede to you that you are educated, but with profound respect, you're not learned.
Okay. Now, the ground norm, the Constitution says, you don't even have to have a WAEC certificate. In fact, you don't even have to present anything. If the INEC, chairman or resident electoral commissioner is able to certify or convince himself that this person is educated, maybe he can read or write, he qualifies. Has President Tinubu not met that constitutional threshold?
What he said is just correct. And that is why I'm surprised that he is embarrassing himself by providing such certificate. He could have just said, having contested as governor, I am deemed qualified because I can speak English, I am literate, INEC has confessed. He would have just spoken English there and gone his way. What you just said is correct. Legally, it is applicable. Why embarrass yourself by being controversial? He knows that if not that we are Nigerians, he wouldn't be allowed to run. And that is what we should be pursuing.
Wow. And now, this certificate of the Chicago State University that you have said,
yes.
I mean, the Chicago State University disowned
that particular certificate
exactly.
that he's parading, and I'm talking as in 2023. Yes. Don't know whether he has any other one. Yes. If it is that particular one, Chicago State University has deposed to that it did not come from them.
Now, if there is a case of forgery, I'm just presuming that there is a case of forgery that may come up because of that. Now, how would you, contextualize this with the National Assembly when they were amending the Electoral Act 2026? They removed in section 138, subsections 1, 2, A and B and all of those, and made forgery a non-issue for disqualification of an aspirant or a candidate, or indeed someone who has won elections. They removed that provision. They rendered it nugatory that you cannot remove someone based on forgery. How do you react to all of this?
Oh, well, when they finished the amendment of 2026 Electoral Act, I was one of the persons that came out and said some of those amendments are useless in law. Because any amendment you make that contravenes the position of the Constitution is void to the extent of its inconsistency with the Constitution. The Constitution is the ground norm, and Section 1, subsection 1 is very clear. It's supreme and has binding force on all authorities and persons. And then Section 1, subsection 3 says, if any other law is inconsistent with the provisions of the Constitution, that other law is void to the extent of its inconsistency. The Constitution is very clear. If you present a forged certificate, you are disqualified. And so the Electoral Act amendment that says it is no longer basis for qualification or disqualification is void. However, They cleverly wanted to say that it is only an aspirant. In other words, they now made it that it's only an aspirant that has the locus standi to bring it. In other words, if you are from APC, it's only those that contested with Bola Ahmed that has the locus standi to bring up the issue of qualification. You see, that is where they are clever, but we will not be sure until there is a judicial pronouncement on it.